Hi, welcome to my studio. My name's Kari Waltz. I share tips, tools, and techniques for the artist in you. And today I'm going to show you a little bit of how I evaluate paintings that are in the process of becoming finished, but they aren't quite finished yet. A lot of times I'll look at something and you just have to step away. And this is a process with an oil painting that I've had to let it dry in between different layers. And I'm getting toward the end and I'm reevaluating things, especially with value. So I'm going to shift the camera a minute and tell you what I mean. This is a color study that I did before starting the main painting, and it's really a good idea to do that on a smaller version so that you can get your color mixes and some of your basic needs decided before you start working so large. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is to always make a black and white version of your reference photo as well as your painting as you progress, because this helps you evaluate how close you are to the lights and darks and the correct values of the piece you're working on. It's a great way to block in your beginning if you want to. I did refer to a black and white version as I was painting my um, underpainting with the burnt sienna, and it's just very helpful to neutralize the colors to one tone. So use this hint anytime you're working on anything that you question if you've got your values right. Of course, this is backlit because it's a photo. Photos exaggerate lights and darks, but what I want to do with this painting is several things. I made a list of them. So I would suggest that you do this when you're evaluating something. Step back, look at it from a distance, at least 6 feet, and evaluate some things. So add more lighter colored tones to the trunk. All right, so when I stare at this trunk and I blur my eyes, it's dark and I want it to be dark. One of the darkest darks in the photograph is this trunk and the palm fronds that are right in here. So I want to maintain the dark. I also want to darken the shadow below because this is a sunny day. And on a sunny day, your contrast between the shadows and the non-shadow area is much stronger than the contrast that I have here. I wanted to get the base of the shadows in, paint the chairs, and then add more dark, colorful darks to the shadow area. Because if you notice in the photo, the contrast between the shadow area and the trunk is not as strong as it is right now. So I want to darken the shadows. I'll actually lighten the trunk a little bit. And then by the time I darken the shadows, that's going to make the sand look warmer or brighter. But I also need to add a little bit of orange in the sand to warm it up. Why orange? Because orange is the warmest color on the color wheel. It's made of both the both primaries of red and yellow. So when I want to warm something up, I want to warm it up that way. So I might actually use Indian yellow, which is very orange based, what it looks like, and it's just liquid sunshine. So I'm going to do that. So add more colored light tones to the trunk, lighten the mid landform. Okay, I hadn't mentioned that. If you look at this landform right here, it's about as dark as the trunk, and I want it to show that it's off in the distance. So in order to make it off in the distance, I need to lighten it up. Even though it's dark in my photo reference, sometimes you have to take things in your photo reference and interpret them differently in your painting so that it will appear in the distance. Because it's the same darkness as my trunk, it's kind of reading that it's on the same plane, and I don't want it to do that. All right, also I want to add highlights to the palm leaves. All right, I've laid in the basic shapes of the palm leaves, but I was unable yesterday as I was working to add really light lights in there because the paint was so wet. So once I add the light tones in through here, right up in here, and exaggerate these a little bit, throw in a little bit of light, and then that'll make the palm tree read a little more realistic, I think, and more dimensional. All right, I said darken with colorful shadows in the sand. I definitely want colorful shadows in the sand. And I also want, if you've already can see, there's some blue over here because light colors reflect the colors that are around them. So I want to maintain some of the blue, and I'll put, some of the yellow even in the sand as well. You might not can see it in the lighting. I don't have this room lit up real well right now, but and then warm and lighten the sand near the water. That's this bit along here, right by the water. If you squint your eyes at the reference, the brightest part of the sand is right out there. So I want to make that even brighter. Once I do all that, then I'll sit back and evaluate again because I'll probably add more what we call sky holes in between some of these palm fronds so that the sky or the water will show through, opening up those areas, where there's a break between the leaf parts. Those are a little solid back here, but I can't do that while the paint's too wet. So, take a look at your work, evaluate it with neutral eyes, compare it. I'm not going to make the shadows as dark as the photo because the photo exaggerates the shadows, but I do want it to read like this is a sunny day. And right now, this is more of a partly cloudy, overcast day because the shadows are not in high contrast. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I will share this with you when I make those changes. I got approval of the color study, so I will continue on this larger painting, 30 by 40 inches. I have a wide range of color selections that I put out to try to find the right color in the water and in the sky. So close enough to be confident, and I'm going to have some fun with this. I really enjoyed playing with the different textures in this one, so I'm going to use some of the tools when I do my tree that I used in my study. I thought I mixed up enough sky color to begin with, but I had to go back and make some more. But that's okay because I knew what colors I used. And then I went back with the Hake brush, Hake, and lightly dragged that across to give a more subtle satin finish to the sky rather than brush strokes, because I want it to kind of push back into the distance. I don't want it to be too predominant as far as texture. I want the texture to be more in the waves and the things that are up front. I cut in where the sky color would be, but I left soft edges so when I paint the tree it won't interfere with the lines of the tree for the sky in the background. Now to work on large masses of puddles of color and try to keep the intensity. I'm mixing half of the white with the Gamsol solvent gel so that I have some white that's very pliable.